It was a day in late March like any other. Spring was springing, trees budding, air warming. Arriving home after a long day on campus, the professor laced her walking shoes and readied herself for a healthy jaunt around her little neighborhood. Some movements first: stretch the calf muscles, then fill the water bottle. Did her husband want to go for a walk? No, he said. Suit yourself, she thought, and then said aloud, "It's a nice evening. I very much need a walk. But first, I'm going to pee." Although of late she had been working on mindfulness, especially around everyday tasks like brushing teeth, she hadn't yet brought that particular skill to the ritual of voiding. So it wasn't until she almost hit the flush lever that she noticed that the toilet bowl was, gasp, filled with blood. Oh, confusion. So many thoughts ran through her head. Is that what I think? Could it be? No, that's impossible. Did I? But what about, I'd better check. So she quickly assessed the possible sources for this crimson effusion, all the time thinking that any one of the three would not be good news. The professor, using all her mental resources, narrowed down the culprit to just one source. She was peeing red. "Come here," she screamed in horror for her husband. "What?" he screamed back. "Just come here," she yelled again. The husband arrived at the bathroom, and together they regarded with horror the bowl of blood. He screamed, "Ah!" She screamed, "Ah!" And they both looked at each other, eyes wide. Together they went to the emergency room, where many tests were conducted on the good professor. 2 hours passed when a young doctor came in and sat next to her bed, his arms on the bed rail, his face curiously close to hers. He said, all friendly and casual, "So, you have a 3-centimeter tumor in your bladder." She waited. He continued, "It's probably bladder cancer." She was more surprised than afraid. In her mind, she ran through what she thought she knew about bladder cancer. Didn't our friend Larry have bladder cancer? That wasn't such a problem. It's probably some superficial tumor, right? They'll just scrape that thing out of the lining of my bladder like a D&C. Gee, I wonder how I got this. Well, it's better than another kind of cancer. Breast, ovarian, colon, lung. She thought, I'll have to see a urologist. No big deal, right? Well, the next few days brought a string of exciting new events. She made doctor appointments. She went back to work for a day and made a terrible mess of things. The blood didn't stop, and soon clots formed, and all peeing came to a halt, leading to an emergency surgery to remove the little tumor. And still she wasn't afraid. She wasn't afraid because she thought she knew everything. From the internet web, she learned that most bladder cancers are superficial, and that after tumors are removed, the bladder can be treated with a kind of topical immunotherapy. So she greeted her urologist cheerily after she woke from surgery, grateful the tumor was removed and was being looked at closely by expert pathologists. "We'll have the results in a few days," said the urologist. "I'll see you in my office next week." So she went home, where she recovered from her little procedure by streaming 2 seasons of Better Call Saul. When she saw her doctor again in his office, he too sat down very close to her, barely a foot away. Oh my, she thought, because if she had learned anything in the past week, it's that doctors get very close when they have bad news. He said, "You have high-grade muscle-invasive bladder cancer. Your bladder will have to come out. We'll get you set up with an oncologist and a surgical consult. You'll probably do a few rounds of chemotherapy first." And he went on explaining details while her mind raced. High grade? Muscle invasive? Chemotherapy? She thought, maybe this is really serious. Now I am afraid. I am very, very afraid.